Uh,
Ooh,
it's an awesome college football slate. I'm excited for it. Probably my favorite slate we've had all year. Uh, Dmar, how you doing this morning? And tell us
doing
about
good.
last week's slate.
Yeah, doing good, man. We've betting's finally live here in the state of Kentucky, so it's been an exciting, a little hectic first couple days. That's what we were just talking about, just trying to get all these bonus bets and trying to get everyone, in on the action because it's just so easy right now to, it's obviously not going to be like that forever, but you got to take advantage of all these, bets and boost and everything like that. So it's been a fun, first couple days of it, and ready to kind of tackle some college football with on the betting side as well now. So you might see me, add a few more bets in now since I'm kind of more triggered to that as well.
Yeah, no, I mean I've been in love with it. I mean it's literally free money right now. All my accounts have all these bonus bets and, like you said, the boost. It's a good day to live in Kentucky. A good week rather. So last week I thought we had some pretty great calls, especially you, but we seen Plummer and Louisville kind of ruin it. Just
Yeah,
they,
that's the thing about college, man. It's just like you can get a lot of good plays, but there seems like there's always going to be a play or two that just goes crazy, and they don't even have to be that owned to just keep you from because all these tournaments in college are pretty top heavy, so it's hard to take anything down when you don't have those guys that just go absolutely bonkers, and that's what Plummer and what it was a Plummer and Jordan stack, so it was a quarterback running back, which
yeah.
is something I'm interested in today. Pricing's a little bit tougher to make it work this week, but I think it's still a pretty viable route.
Yeah, and I'm always a big fan of going the quarterback and running back, especially in college, just because you have teams
Uh-huh.
with these huge team totals, and you can just get every
Yeah,
touchdown scored.
there's going to be points scored, so it's just not like you have to connect on every one of them. So try to stockpile the points.
Yeah, but I think we didn't leave ourselves enough time to make a team on the show last week, so I know we're
Yeah, we'll
gonna
try
run.
to get through this and
Yeah,
try to build us one, and then that way we can maybe a few bets we like, and so if you see us go through some of these games a little bit quicker, we've got the comments pulled up. If you have anything that we do miss, just ask. And also Discord has been. I mean, not even me. I mean, we've got plenty of guys in there. AJ's always bringing us stuff. Fab Five, like we've got a good group of guys in there that are always bringing some good information to the table.
yeah, and don't forget, I kind of freaking beat myself up last week because I didn't go back and recheck your article whenever you did your core four, and I know you had the nuts. Who was the running back that ended up being 50% owned?
Oh, Ali.
Yeah, Ali. I only had him in one of three. If I would have went back and looked and seen him and he was in your core, I would have put him in all three.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, don't make the mistake I did. Be sure to
yeah,
go
and
check that.
I'll usually I always I like to have it put in before the show starts. So if you are a subscriber, you can come check that out and see my core four and all that's usually updated by 10 o'clock
Yes, sir. And real quick
Eastern
before
time.
we
Yeah.
before we dig in, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Helps us out a lot. It's going to help us to continue to put out more shows
hmm
and just do more. I mean, heck, we might just start doing a betting show. I know they do that on Stay Cashing, but it never hurts to have two different opinions. But yeah, we'll dig on in here. Awesome slate. I'm going to go by the order of DraftKings. Really like this one. First game is going to be Clemson versus Syracuse. Clemson's minus 7 point favorites, and it's a 53 over under. I'll go ahead and throw it to you. Anything you like in this game, don't like? Man, we just have a ton of great games. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing kind of as last week. Plus Clemson gets a little bit better matchup this week. So Will Shipley, I think he had 26 or something last week against Florida State, and like I said, it's just pure volume. I mean, the dude's just they throw it to him. He runs the ball a lot. It's just you're gonna get your good bang for your buck there. So Will Shipley's firmly in play. Um, so him also, I think we're still waiting on the notice for that Antonio Williams, the receiver for Clemson.
He ended up
Didn't play.
sitting last week.
Yeah, didn't play last week, and it doesn't look like he's going to play again this week. So if that's the case, Tyler Brown is who stepped in and looked good last week against Florida State. So 4,800, good price for him. So I like that. if you want to get a little crazy, Cade Klubnik is shown he'll run the ball down the goal line and stuff. So not a terrible GPP play. And even on the other side, Garrett Schrader is a guy that's been around, I feel like, forever.
Sure. He
Was
still
at Mississippi
plays.
State and been at Syracuse for a few years now. He's he's put up great games already this year, and Riley Leonard for Duke, kind of a similar style quarterback. Put it to Clemson in the week 1, so don't hate that play, especially if you want to do a little game stack. Probably not, it'd probably take maybe making 2, 3, 4 teams, something like that. But yeah, don't hate that at all.
Yeah, no, I like that. Especially this game should be close. A 7-point spread. Schrader, I mean, he has huge upside. He had 4 rushing touchdowns a couple weeks ago against Purdue. Man, you don't find many quarterbacks with that type of upside. But what really sticks out to me is Shipley. We were on him last week. He came through for us, especially if Williams is out. I think he's just going to get all the work. I mean, just those catches out of the backfield on DK are huge. So I love that, especially if Antonio Williams is out.
Mm-hmm.
Any money you would pair with Schrader on Syracuse?
I think it's just one of those things you want to kind of get, to try to get his rushing upside. It's hard to kind of pair him up. That Damian Alford has had a couple good games. But it's like even on that Duke game, Riley Leonard, there wasn't a good receiver to pair with him. They did it all through the run game. So I feel like it's already kind of a stretch doing that, going that. So it's just like you don't want to get too invested in a game like this with what we have left. What we have on the table today, because it's a 53. So I mean, it's not a terrible over under, but I would probably just stick to that and then run it back with either Shipley and maybe you go Tyler Brown or something to get a little mini stack.
Yeah, no, I mean, just from first thought, I think I love starting a team with Schrader and Shipley.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's going to be different.
We'll move on. This next game is probably the most interesting game of the day. It's USC versus Colorado, 73 over under, and USC's 21.5-point favorites. We seen last week, I don't know if we were really surprised, but Oregon just absolutely laid it to Colorado. So the real question is if this game stays close. I think if this game stays close, I mean, there's a freaking shit ton of plays that you can run out here. It's just hard for me to imagine it staying close. Maybe you have a different take, but man, this is just definitely probably the fantasy game of the day.
I think we kind of got a good look at what what happened last week. Very similar to style. I do think USC's defense isn't quite what Oregon's is. So I do think there's some potential for Colorado to score some more points this game. And I do think looks like Weaver's going to play. There was a few questions about him playing, which would downgrade that offense considerably. But, Shador's still just so expensive. So it's just like,
I mean, he's going to be what, 5%, 10%?
Oh, yeah, he's going to be low just because of price. And, I mean, it's just like, you can pay another $1,000 to get Caleb Williams, which is, probably the safest play on the board with, upside through the roof. I think I was looking like his over under on passing is like 350 yards and something. I think it's like like over under 2.5. So I mean, like you're pretty much count like it's 300, 300 plus passing yards to get your bonus and then 3 touchdowns. Like you take that any day. So Sanders is definitely going to come in lower owned, and it's going to be tough too because you want to go him and you want to go one of his receivers. Well, one of his receivers is $7K. Caleb Williams, you want to go a game stack, that's $10K. The USC receivers are priced up, so it makes it really tough to do that. And there's not a whole lot of value out there to make it work. So I've not messed around with too many of those builds yet, but I'm making 20 in that $4 one, so I'll probably have at least 1 or 2 where I'll try to make it work. But it's just you sacrifice so much else with your other positions. So.
No, I definitely agree. And there's some plays that I really like today that I don't think we're going to be able to get to if we do a full game stack. The only person that really is jumping off the board to me is, and I'd actually want your opinion, is that Giovanni Antonio at 4,600. Do you think he's cheap enough to be able to
I think he's very I think that's going to be the way I cut it.
It has to somewhat.
Yeah, I don't even really think so. Because I think that Shador's going to play it's a home game, which I think makes it a little bit. But I think he's gonna shoot. I just drew a blank on his name. You just said his name.
Giovanni Antonio,
Antonio. Yeah. And I was looking too. He ran more passing routes than that Dawson, the one that they thought was going to kind of fill in that third role. So he looked good. I mean, he's a hoss. I mean, you saw him. He's what 6'4", like 230, 235, something like that. So I think he's a really interesting play this week, especially if you're trying to do a game stack. I think he helps kind of fit that in. Hope Shador just kind of spreads the ball around and, he gets some of the action there. But yeah, I think that's good. And man, that we saw that, Mescal there last week got some action late in the game. So I do think they're kind of ramping him up to be ready. But they jumped his price to 4,900 for some reason. I have no idea why. So like if he was still in that 3K range, he'd be interesting. But we just did not have any idea if he's going to, get a full workload. You just can't pay that because you can beat USC on the ground. The Arizona State game last week, that Scatbo, I think he had like 40 fantasy points and they lost by, 2 or 3 scores. So it's definitely a path there for running backs, but 4,900 it's just too much for the unknown there. But yeah, so Shador, then Weaver, Horn are both in play there. I would lean Antonio as the third receiver there over Dawson. Harrison's still not bad. He's still running a lot of routes at tight end. I think he was third in pass routes ran on the team. Like him and Antonio were, I think, like one off. So those would be the 4 there I would like to use if you're pairing up. And then on the USC side, probably my favorite play on the board, though, is Marshawn Lloyd. Lincoln Riley has a history of kind of the first of the year. He kind of treats it almost like preseason. Like he'll split the running back carries, but then once the season kind of gets going, he sticks to one guy. And I think last year that's what we saw with like Travis Dye there. He was getting 20, 25 plus carries a game. And I think that's kind of what Lloyd's breaking into and should have no problem in this matchup. Like he's probably my favorite. Like if you went to anytime touchdown, I would throw him in on a parlay. I think it's like minus 260. So I mean the odds are, he's going to score more than likely. So, but it's just a good little sprinkle in there. But yeah, I love Lloyd today. Of course, Caleb Williams. The receiving room is kind of where it gets tricky. Caleb Williams is just so good that he spreads the ball around. He don't lock in on one guy. I think last week it was Brendan Rice that had the big game. But, this week it could be Washington. It could be Singer, Branch. There's just so many guys that it's so if you really I think the actual preferred option for me would be going Caleb Williams and Lloyd and just hoping he just spreads it around. But if you do want to take a chance on a receiver, I think I'm going to go with Branch. He's priced kind of lower compared to the other receivers. And I've talked about him earlier in the year, but he's literally the Tyreek of college football. Like anytime he touches it, I mean, he has a chance to take it to the house. And this is a big game, national TV. USC's not really, they've been every game they've played so far. It's been, 9, 10 o'clock. No one's really watching them. So I think this will be a good game for Branch to break off and, have 2. You just hope that he don't, which you don't hate it, but he's very easy chance he returns a punt. You just get the 6 points, but you'd love for it to be, 2 receiving touchdowns or a rushing touchdown, something like that. But yeah, Branch is probably my favorite receiver. Mario Williams is due for a big game. It's tough, but just because the way they distribute the ball, but he's in there. Singer is probably the most talented, true receiver, but is priced up there a little bit. So, but I mean, any of those guys, I wouldn't hate if you play, but Branch is kind of my favorite one there.
So outside of games where you're just doing complete another game stacks, are you going to have one of Williams and Lloyd probably in every lineup? So if you don't go more, I guess the question is, if you're playing Williams, are you pretty much auto locking Lloyd in?
Yeah, I don't think that I'll have a team that doesn't have a USC guy in it.
Okay.
Like there's no world I don't see they just score at least 40 points.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I wish I have a hard time thinking Colorado keeps this close. So it's, I don't really want to get too invested on the Colorado side.
It's just hard with their pricing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when they play who they play the first couple of weeks, it's just they put up all those crazy points. They had to raise the price.
Yeah.
All right, next game. This one I think is going to be a fun one too. It's Texas A&M versus Arkansas, 53.5 over under, and A&M is minus 6 point favorites. I was joking before the show. I don't think KJ Jefferson's been on an early slate yet, and you're kind of the KJ Jefferson whisperer. I also know you're high on Max Johnson, rightfully so. I mean, I remember him from last year being a stud. Uh, so yeah, I like this game. Close spread should be just a good actual real life game. What are we doing, KJ?
Yeah, think it's a another good spot for him. He, A&M's gave up some big games. Tyler Van Dyke from Miami had a big game against him. Arkansas's defense is just putrid, so I mean there should be a lot of points scored. The game's played in Jerry World there in Arlington, so getting to play on that. We've talked about this before. Anytime there's a game in this dome, you get these athletes out there. I do lean the offense on games like that. And KJ started kind of clicking last game against LSU. It kind of game went back and forth, and really kind of got the offense going. So I like him for his price. He always gives us some rushing upside, and I just lean him over Max in this game just due to that. His pricing, his rushing upside, and the fact that I think that they'll be trailing more than A&M will be. So I like KJ a lot in this game. I think Armstrong is probably the safest pairing with him. He's priced up a little bit though, so it makes it a little bit tricky. So I started looking a little bit more, and this Tyrone Broden came from I think Bowling Green, 6'7" receiver though. Yeah, big old boy. Yeah, talented, and he's dealing with some injuries in the early first parts of the week or first part of the season, and but yeah, last week they finally kind of let him go a little bit. I think there was like around 30 routes or something compared to like 9 the week before that. So he's definitely on the upward trajectory. Caught a touchdown last week. So in a game that I think they're going to be scoring some points, I think they look his way. And I think he, for 3,500 on a slate that doesn't have a ton of value, definitely makes him very interesting. So him or, I would go one of those receivers probably with him. The tight end Haas had a huge game last week, but LSU just refused to cover him. I mean, it wasn't anything he was doing. It was just every time he was out there, they wouldn't guard him. So I don't hate that play. 5,000 is not a bad price, but I wouldn't just be trying to chase that last game because it was a little bit of, I don't know, they couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, no, that's what you're here for to tell us, because I was on Haas for sure, just because looking at the game logs, and I seen some of the highlights from that game, and he was literally wide open every time.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm loving this Broden call. I just wrote him in. There's a good chance he might make my main team because I was needing the value piece right there. So anything from the running backs?
Yeah, I do think Rocket Sanders is looking like he's going to be back, which, he was a stud last year. I mean, a guy that was always in play. We don't know exactly for sure what kind of workload he's going to get, but 5,600 is too cheap for his talent. If he was a full go, I mean, he would almost be maybe about a lock at what he is, and it would kind of change, how I would construct my lineup. But if we get some more confirmation on that, it might change some things. I'll update it if I see anything. But Raheem Sanders is a very talented back. He's just coming off injury, and A&M has been a little bit tougher to run on compared to the past. So, but yeah, good there. And so on the A&M side, Max Johnson stepped in for Wigman last week, moved the ball well, got a big arm, had some huge games at LSU, 2 years ago. So, doesn't provide the rushing upside as, some of these quarterbacks do. Wish he was a tad bit cheaper. I feel like 82
Yeah,
is a little bit expensive for someone that's just kind of now taken over. But yeah, he's in a good spot because Arkansas's defense has just leaked points this year, especially the secondary. So, and he's got Evan Stewart. Noah Thomas comes back this week, and he's another big receiver, I think like 6'5". So I'm actually, with the kind of builds I've played around with, it's easier to get Noah Thomas in there. I would rather get Stewart, but Thomas is fitting a little bit better. So I think Noah Thomas might be my favorite of the bunch for the A&M. But also Anaz Smith got a nice price. Been around the program for a while, and kind of runs that slot position out for A&M. So don't mind any of those three there. And it could even, with a guy like Max Johnson, you easily could double stack because of the way they're going to be throwing the ball around. So, any pairing of those three is totally fine.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, it honestly sets up for a sexy little game stack if it wasn't for USC being on board, but maybe you could throw
Yeah,
that in.
and I do like I like the over on this game too as well. I think it's what's sitting at, what'd you say it was?
It's 53.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it should be, I don't know, at least 55 or so. So I definitely kind of lean the over on this game because you see some of these random SEC games kind of shoot out, especially playing in the dome and everything. I think it's got potential to, Bog Petrino is the OC for A&M. Got let go by Arkansas, years ago and stuff. So this is his first time going up against Arkansas again. So might have a little bit more in the tank for trying to draw up some plays there. Definitely like this game. I think there's a lot of good fantasy value in it.
Yeah, it's probably one of the games I'm more excited about, just for fantasy perspective and just actually watching it. But we'll move on. Next game's going to be Florida versus Kentucky. Low over under. It's only at 44.5. UK is minus 1 point favorites. I believe it's the closest spread on the slate. We live in Kentucky, so we keep up with it. The Cats quite a bit here.
We have no choice.
Yeah, no choice at all.
I think every group message we're in, during the game, there's UK talk going on.
From what I've seen, I don't think I can go Leary. He hasn't looked good to me. He's got the job done, but they've not really played anybody. Ray Davis, he's an absolute stud. I know you mentioned him in your article. You like him because we've been here before. We know the only way they're going to win this game is if he gets 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I expect them. I'm with you there. I expect them to lean on him. And then, I've been waiting for one of these UK receivers to go wild. We love Brown. He's like the freaking Deshaun Jackson of college football, but he's yet to really have his huge game. What do you think about this? And then give me your thoughts on the Florida side after the Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Leary has a decent price. In the 20 I'm making, I'm probably going to have 1 or 2 and try to get the right receiver with him. Because I do think that, they're going to have to beat Florida through the air. And I'm hoping, they can hit up enough deep shots, and that opens up things for Ray Davis.
Do you like the over?
Man, it's so hard to tell because we just have no idea about this Kentucky team. They usually they've played they've played an entire max schedule so far. So you just have really no idea of knowing what they may offer. And even Florida, they beat Tennessee last week, but sometimes games like that can get out of hand early, and it's a hard indication kind of knowing what's going to happen. So being at home, I do lean the Kentucky side and think that I think they should be okay. I hope they do okay just because all these bets are being thrown around to us. I don't normally pull for Kentucky, but I think I might today just with the bets and everything. But yeah, I think going Leary and going one of these receivers is not a bad option. I wouldn't get too heavy in this game. It's still going to be a defensive dominated game. But yeah, Leary with what is it? Robinson, Brown, Key, all three are in play. There's not really a difference between the three because at any time one of them could go off. I think Brown, they really try to get Brown involved. So I think, if you're, he's probably the easy, like if you wanted to for sure to try to get 10 points, I think Brown would be your guy. But he's also, I think, got the highest upside just because he could catch 2 bombs. Key is one of those guys that just kind of gets sneaky and will catch a couple. He's had a problem with drops this year, so probably the riskiest of the bunch. Robinson and Brown would be my 2 kind of I feel a little bit more confident in. And then I do like Ray Davis a lot today. I don't think a lot of people will be on him at his price because there's some really good running backs around him. But I do think, I have him in a parlay. I think one of my favorite parlays is having him and, Lloyd anytime touchdown scorer with a couple other backs we have coming up that we'll talk about. But I think he finds the end zone at least once. You will need a little bit more to pay off that tag, but it just seems like what Kentucky does. Like they've always kind of got a above average running back, and they just kind of lean on him in games like this. So, like Ray Davis there, and then on the Florida side, I think it's really just kind of with the running backs. I do think that Eugene Wilson 4,700 is a decent option there. Not a bad price for that. That Ricky Purcell, he is priced up a little bit too much for this game. You got a team that's run dominant, so it's hard to pay 7,400 for a receiver. But if you want to game stack it, you can do that. But those are kind of the two receivers I'm looking at. Mertz has a pretty good price, but I just don't think I'm going to do that. There's another quarterback we'll talk about that's priced just a little bit lower that maybe brings a little bit more upside than Mertz does. The running backs are a little interesting. Johnson and ETN both should have a pretty decent game. I think I lean ETN just for the price. Provides a little bit more in the passing game too. So ETN's probably my favorite play on the Florida side.
Yeah, it's a good price.
Yeah, it's a good price. And I think, I think he's got behind Ray Davis the second best odds to score a touchdown in this game. So, I like some ETN this week.
No, I agree. Nothing's really popping out from the Florida side. It just sucks. There's so many good games on this slate. Like you said, you can't really get too heavily involved in this one unless you're making 10, 20 teams. Moving on. This next game I think is the largest spread on the entire slate. It's Penn State against Northwestern. Penn State's minus 26.5 point favorites, and the over/under is set at 47. You have to like the running backs for Penn State with this huge spread. On the Northwestern side, I'm not really seeing anything that's getting me excited.
Yeah, this game will be pretty quick. I think it's really just all on the Penn State side. I think you can play either one of the running backs and feel good about it. I do think Singleton. I'm always been a Singleton guy, so it's just one of those things that you just kind of got to stick to your guns with, and because as soon as you go the other running back, the guy you always go will go off. So. I'm sticking with Singleton this week. If I can fit him in there, I'm going to try to. But yeah, I think if their prices were a little bit different, I would have no problem playing both of them because I could easily see a situation where both of them score like 2 rushing touchdowns. And if you look at their numbers, I mean, they're both getting enough carries to justify, kind of their price. So it's like, and this should be a game they have no problem with. They shouldn't have to be, throwing the ball around. Northwestern's not a good team. So, which kind of brings Aller out of the question, especially at 8,500. We've seen crazy games where sometimes these Big Ten teams they sell on trying to stop the run, so it's just almost like a layup throwing these deep balls. But Penn State loves to run the ball, so ideally I would just pick one of the running backs and move on. And like I said, I do lean Singleton because I think, and he's another one in my parlay. I would go. Ray Davis, Marshawn Lloyd, and Nick Singleton, and in a little parlay. And then there's, I think, one more running back that I would add to it that I think we've not got to yet. Well, no, actually, it was Will Shipley. So that's my 4 in a parlay.
Oh, yeah.
So Will Shipley, Marshawn Lloyd, Ray Davis, and Nick Singleton parlay to score a touchdown. I think it's like, especially with the boost, I think you can get it to like plus 360 or something. So.
Yeah, the Shipley seems like such an easy play today. I'm gonna have a hard time going. But yeah, no, that game is quick. Not much to love outside the running backs. I'm with you. You think they'll be pretty chalky?
Not a lot. Just because the price, I think.
A lot of good running back.
Yeah, I think Singleton probably gets some ownership, but
yeah.
All
right, next game: Arizona State University versus California. California is minus 13-point favorites and lower over/under here at 47.5. From your article, I know you like to play in this game, but I really don't have anything here. I just think I like other spots better.
Yeah, it's a weird game. It's because it's one of these games that a lot of people, don't see these teams play.
Yeah, I've never watched California play. I don't even. I couldn't.
Well, it's just you just gotta be able to stay up and wait for that 10 o'clock kickoff and it's like that. But Arizona State's down to their 3rd quarterback now with injuries and everything. So I do think for value, I mean, 4,800 for a starting quarterback's pretty good. So this Trenton Burgett, I think he's actually started for him some last year, so he does have some experience. If you're just wanting to try to fit some more studs in and go a cheap quarterback and roll the dice with him, I don't hate it. So don't mind that. The running back Scatbo has been great all year. Like I said, I think he had 41 against USC, which, in a game they lost by 2 scores, 20, 2 scores that, it's not, it shows he can get it kind of regardless of the game environment. Because I think Cal's favored by, is it 17?
14, 13 is what I have.
13.
I don't know,
it might have came down a little bit then, but yeah. So don't hate that. 6,400 is a nice price for his workload. If you want to try, if you do, I just feel like if you're trying to get the value there, I don't know if I would pay for any of these receivers with that quarterback, Broughton. Just hopefully he throws some, and don't try to pair it up, because I don't think he's going to throw enough to where these receivers pay off their price. So if you do it, I would just play him by himself and try to fit studs on other games that you like elsewhere. And then on the Cal side, the running back, I think it's the highest price. Him and Corum are priced up there. It's just one of those plays that, in a game like this, people aren't going to play him. If you wanted to go him and hope he scores 2 or 3 touchdowns and you have an expensive guy there, low ownership. But I'm not, I'd rather just play Lloyd, and get a little bit of discount there. And Hunter's had some pretty good games. Jeremiah Hunter has been very consistent this year. So 5,900, don't hate that price as well. But that's really kind of all I got for that game.
Is with all these good running backs, is Scatabo someone you're thinking about maybe putting on the main team, or
probably not?
There's a lot of good plays.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a 3 running back week?
Yeah, it just depends on how the construction comes up. I would obviously love. There's so many running backs I do like that I would like to try to get that, but there's more value at the receiver side, so it just depends on how it comes out.
No, I agree.
It does look like that Rocket Sanders is expected to play. Not sure exactly what.
At 5,700 though, he can take a 60-yarder to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that price is cheap.
Yeah, it definitely it's definitely interesting there.
Because he's 1,000 cheaper than Davis, and luckily Shipley's about the same price, so I think I'm still leaning Shipley over him, just with the concern.
Yeah,
but I know this next game.
What
was it?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, no, this next game is one I'm excited for. It's Kansas versus Texas. One of the big higher over-unders, 61. But Texas is 16-point favorites. I know for a fact that Daniels broke the slate a few times last year. We haven't really seen him explode this season yet. I don't think it's going to happen here against a stout Texas defense. But, man, there's a few plays to the Texas side that I'm kind of excited about. But I'll let you kick us off here.
Yeah, we can start on the Texas side. I think Ewers is in a good spot here. He just got so many weapons, and it's kind of like a little bit with USC. They've just got so many guys that, sometimes it's hard to kind of pair up with it. They've got, arguably one of the, most talented tight ends in the country. Sanders keeps putting up big games. He's always priced, pretty fairly. And then of course Worthy, I think, is one of the best price plays today. You just hope that literally it's anytime you play Worthy, you just hope that Ewers can hit him on the deep ball. He gets open every game, it seems like, but sometimes he hits them and sometimes he don't. So you just got to hope they can connect on it. So I like Worthy a lot here. If you can fit him, I would definitely going to be one of my favorite plays today. Even AD Mitchell, not been as featured as Worthy and whatnot, but always has a chance to a big play as well. So be more of a GPP play for sure. But AD Mitchell there is in a good spot. And then with the running backs, I think Brooks is in a good price at 6,200. He they kind of started the year balancing a little bit with Baxter, the 5-star freshman. Baxter got banged up a little bit, and I think that's allowed Brooks to kind of take over this RB1 role. So, I don't hate Baxter in GPP. If you need a running back in that range, 4,700 is not bad because I do think he'll still get some works. I mean, I would think around 10 carries or so, and then that he could score a touchdown and have a few yards there. So don't hate that. But Brooks is he's locked in. He should get 15 to 20 carries here. Easy chance he scored 1 or 2 touchdowns. Another guy you could add to the parlay if you wanted. I think he's good chance of him scoring a touchdown as well. So a lot to like on the Texas side today, especially playing at home. And so, yeah, I do think, Ears and Worthy is going to be popular, especially Worthy. So I do like that, and like Brooks a lot too. So that's kind of Worthy and Brooks are my 2 favorite plays in this game.
Yeah, before you talk about the Kansas side, I'm with you on Worthy. I think he's one of the best plays in the slate. And I watched that whole Rice game, and Ewers missed him on 2 deep balls where he would have easily had a touchdown, and that would have put him in scoring a touchdown in every single game so far this year. So they're definitely trying to get him in the box. I think he's easily gonna get his touchdown. It's just he's not really broke that 100-yard bonus mark yet. Haven't really played a ton of close games though. Hopefully, can Kansas score and keep this game close? Because that's what my biggest fear lately with Worthy is if the game's going to stay close.
I mean, Kansas went in here 2 years ago, and got the win. And it's obviously a lot different Texas team, but that's kind of when Daniels kind of burst on the scene. So he's fully capable of having a big game here. I think even if Texas gives up a couple scores, that just kind of gives Daniels a little bit more room to operate and make some plays. It wouldn't surprise me if you do see Daniels on the winning team, with him and one of these receivers, Arnold and Grimm are both. You could pair up either one of them with him.
Did he get hurt last year in that game against Texas?
Daniels?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. That's what happened last year. He started off, good, and then he got hurt.
Yeah,
and then he
came in and was slinging it.
Yeah, it might have been Texas. Because that Bean came in and was it's either Texas or maybe TCU even. Yeah. Might have been TCU because I think we had some exposure to that game. But yeah, so don't hate that. And Devin Neal is another guy that's just been great to start the season. And so 6K there. Texas run defense has been pretty good this year, so it's not the best matchup, but so I think I'll lean the passing attack here and try to go Daniels and pick up one of these receivers. So like if you wanted to go Daniels and Arnold and then bring it back with Brooks and Worthy, I think it makes for a good little game stack.
No, I like that a lot, especially with this high over under. There's definitely going to be some points scored. Moving on. Next game is going to be Georgia versus Auburn. 44.5 over under, and Georgia's 14.5 point favorites. I don't think you could talk me into playing anyone on the Auburn side. And then of course for Georgia, we always love Brock Bowers. What about the running backs? With the way this game in my mind, I feel like some running backs are going to be play.
Yeah, it's hard to. You feel like it's almost trying to get too cute to try to play a game. Players in one game like this. You just got 2 good defenses, so it's obviously things can still happen because you still get some volume. But I wouldn't hate it if you played Bowers. It does look like Milton's going to play the running back for Georgia, so that does downgrade Edwards a little bit because it's 6K. But he's still been good this year. But it's just like you've got these other running backs on the slate you can pay up a little bit more for, or even pay down some for. So don't think I'm gonna. I honestly probably won't have any. I might have Bowers in a team out of the 20, but other than that, I doubt I have any exposure to this game.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of assuming that Milton was going to sit. So with him in, that kind of takes me off everybody except Bowers. This is the type of game where Bowers is going to have his ceiling performances. I don't think they really look to him in blowouts or.
Yeah.
This next game, we have Indiana versus Maryland. It's a 50 over under, and Maryland is minus 14.5 point favorites. We have your boy Jalen Lucas back on the slate after freaking just killing it for us a couple weeks ago. Literally was one of the best plays of the whole day. We would have shipped if it wasn't for Neighbors or Nabbers blowing his load. But he didn't see a price increase. Maybe it was from last week where he kind of shit the bed, only had 4. So I'm excited to get your opinion on him, and then if you like anything else in this game.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it there. I think there wasn't a price increase because he didn't have a good game. But one thing you can look at though, he also had a career or his highest rushing total, attempts on the season. So he just didn't get anything going in the passing game. So I'm not sure if that was just a product of I didn't get to watch that game, so I don't know if it was a product of just how the defense was being played or what. But we've seen what he can do. He's just a good back to having for fantasy. He's going to make plays happen, get the ball to him in space. So in a good price there. So for someone that you're with a slate that's got a lot of studs you want to pay for, you easily can just kind of put him in that flex spot or something, and then try to pay up the rest of your team.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think at that price, he almost seems like a lock, especially on DraftKings where you get the PPR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in that one game against Louisville, he had 10 catches,
Mm-hmm.
10 catches for 98. Didn't even get his bonus either.
Yeah, I know. Oh, that bonus! That bonus, he just would have been the nuts.
The nuts. Yeah. But yeah, that's really about it. Cam Camper, he had a good game last week. I think he's getting kind of finally healthy again. I don't hate that. 5,300 is not a bad price. I think the quarterback's starting to settle in a little bit, so could look to go him there. But I feel like it's kind of forcing it a little bit. And on the Maryland side, it's another one of those situations where, baby Tua, Dalia, he can put up big games. There's no doubt about it. He's yet to really have a huge game this year like he's had in the past. We saw what Louisville did to Indiana. I mean, they had a pretty easy time there, but the receivers they kind of spread it out so much. I mean, there's 4 or 5 guys that are capable of being the leading receiver for him. So it's hard to figure that out there. So I think if anything on Maryland, you can go Hembry. It's kind of a buy low option after last week. The game kind of got out of hand, so I think they kind of just spread the ball around a little bit. But he's been a stud in every game outside of last week, and people should be off of him this week because of that. So, and you definitely can run the ball in Indiana. So I think he makes a good GPP play there. If you want to do something there.
Deshaun Jones, he's played there for a while.
Yeah,
he's about the only receiver, really.
Yeah, he had a bad injury a couple years ago. I think he's had a little bit of help with some red shirts and stuff like that. But
we've not had any baby Tua chalk weeks. The last few seasons, his price has been so low, and I've just been expecting it because I know we've had long talks about if we should go him or fade him. But I don't see him being very chalky at 8,700. But moving on, it's Michigan versus Nebraska. It's a 40 over under, which is the lowest on the slate, and Michigan's minus 18-point favorites. I know you mentioned it last week that Corum, especially with Harbaugh back, is pretty much a lock for a touchdown. 8,300. Is that enough? Is 100 yards and touchdown enough on this slate for to pay up for Corum?
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely prefer to go Lloyd over him. But if you have if it's one of those things where the last plays left and you got 8,300, you can lock Corum in there, and I think he's going to get you at least that. And I mean, always a chance to score 2-3 touchdowns. I mean, if you look at the game at the end, if you look like the box score at the end and you see he has 3 rushing touchdowns all from 2 or 3 yard line, wouldn't surprise me at all. So he's always in play. He's always going to be in play as long as he's healthy. So it's just one of those things. If you have the money to do it, you can play him. But just other options, I like it. I feel like because they should just absolutely beat the shit out of Nebraska. So not a whole lot there. Him and the same thing as last week. Roman Wilson could always catch a couple, but it's just like it's just harder to kind of to play something like that when you're not going to get a full workload.
With Wilson, he's going to have like 2 quarters, 3 quarters max to get there. So you're literally just limiting yourself so much.
Yeah, but it's sometimes these easy matchups. You can get it early and you feel like an idiot not having them. So
yeah, no, I agree. But
that's really it from this game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the same. Nothing too exciting, especially that low over under. We got 2 games left. We'll get through these somewhat quickly. We have Illinois versus Purdue. I didn't find an over under on this game. It's still not updated on the site I look at. Do you have any clue?
Yeah, 53.5 is what I'm
It
seeing.
is okay.
Yeah, and Purdue's just a 1-point favorite. So, yeah, I think this is a sneaky little game too. You've got some good prices in this game. Both quarterbacks are priced nicely. Probably prefer Altmaier just a little bit more because 5,700. I think he's my favorite kind of value quarterback. He does give you some rushing upside, and Purdue's defense isn't anything to worry about. I think it could be kind of a little bit of a back and forth game. You can pair him up with Isaiah Williams. He's a talented receiver. So he'd kind of be my pairing with that. I wouldn't really worry about the running backs on the Illinois side. And then on the Purdue side, Hudson Card's been like every slate he's on, he ends up being fairly popular. Transfer from Texas does give you a little bit of rushing upside. They do like to sling the ball around. I mean, he's thrown the ball at least 30 times every game this year. So at 6,600, not a bad price there at all. And Illinois' defense also is not very good. So could do that. The receivers are getting pretty they have 3 on the field almost all times. And then even the tight end is pretty talented as well. So Burks, Yassine, Sheffield plays the slot. He's pretty talented, but I've watched the last 2 games, and I don't know if Card just don't like him or what, but he just never looks his way. So I would either go Burks or Yassine. Burks obviously he's popped off for that week 1 and had a huge game. So the upside's definitely there, but I think Yassine's kind of coming on a little bit. So if you play Card, I would want to go at least one of those guys, and don't even hate that Claire, the tight end at 4,100, because if he catches a touchdown and gets you about 50 or so yards, you're not gonna hate it there. So another little value play you could go there in that game.
So if you were to run like an Altmaier and Williams stack, would you force a run back with Purdue?
Probably so, yeah. I would probably want to go, one of those 2 there or the tight end, depending on kind of what the rest of your roster looks like. But yeah, Burks and Yassine definitely have a lot more upside than Claire does.
I mean, you think you would just pair Altmaier with Williams?
Yeah. And then even the Purdue running backs, Tracy's been getting a lot of work here lately. Monkby's kind of the guy everyone knows and he's kind of been around a little bit, but Tracy's kind of been coming on and taking the backfield over the last couple of weeks, and he's cheap. He's priced cheaper than Monkby, so I would lean Tracy on that situation as too.
Okay. I know we don't really look at ownership much, but do you think Altmaier will be like over 20%?
I couldn't imagine. I think you're going to get a lot of ownership on some of these higher price guys. I think Caleb's going to get a lot. I think this is going to kind of spread the rest of it out.
Okay. No, that makes me like it.
I think I think Ewers will get some ownership. I think even Daniels will probably get some in that game.
No, people love Daniels. Ever since he broke a couple of slates last year, they always go back to him. But no, we got one more game left. This game actually, I think, is going to be kind of exciting. It's Boise State versus Memphis, 58.5 over under, and it's a 3-point spread. So we have a huge total and a close spread, which is all we could ask for. I know the running backs are both great plays in this game, but what do you like?
Yeah, it's a good game. I think these last games sometimes go a little overlooked because it's like the last one of the day. But you got 2 really good running backs in this game. I watched all of Gentry's game last week against San Diego State, and I mean, I came away thinking he was the best running back in the country right now. I mean, the dude, I don't know if it's just San Diego State's defense or what, but dude just looks insane. Like, hey, if it wasn't for Lloyd, I would probably have him as my favorite running back, and he still might be. I'm going to try to get those 2 on the most teams as I can. The pricing makes it a little tough, but he's just a stud, and there's Helena has kind of been the guy the last couple of years, but like I said, even if he plays, I don't care. This is Gentry's team, and he's a stud. Their quarterback is so limited on what he can do passing that they have to kind of lean on him even more. They throw it to him. They let him run the ball. I mean, he's, you're getting true work, RB1 workload for him there at 6,800. So love him there. Not anything really else. I like it for Boise State. I think I'm just going to go him. The receiver, the only one I'd be is McAllister, but 6,700 is a little too much for what I want to do there. And then on the Memphis side, I think there's a couple interesting plays here. Blake Watson's kind of burst on the scene this year, getting good workload. Kind of similar to Gentry there. He, they throw it to him, they let him, let him run the ball around. I mean, he's a good talented back. So 6,500 is not bad, and probably have a couple teams that'll have both of these running backs in it. And then the receiver, Rock Taylor. I've been familiar with the Memphis program for a while. I like watching them and everything. So he's kind of a guy that I've been burned on a few times the past year because there's always hype around him. He's a dude that they came in thinking he was going to be a stud, and it's took him a while. But now this year's kind of feel like the lights have came on, and he's kind of took over the role that they thought he should be. Kind of like a Debo type build. Like he looks big. He's a physical receiver, runs the ball like a running back. Can go up and get passes. So anytime a guy like that, I mean, he has upside for, a couple scores and 100 yards and stuff like that. So I like that. Don't think I'm going to force him in lineups, but if I get to that range and want to, plug him in there, I like Rock Taylor a lot today too.
No, I like that.
I love and even the quarterback, that Seth Hennigan. I mean, been pretty solid this year. Does give you some rushing upside, and he's broke a few slates before in the past. I think he's been around last year, and the same thing with Rock Taylor. I'm not going to force it, but I might have him in a team or two. Maybe pair him and Rock up together, run it back with Gentry on the backside, and don't mind that at all.
No, I mean, we've been seeing Memphis quarterbacks freaking break slates for years. Just the way their offense sets up. But no, that goes through all the games, man. There's tons of good plays. Freaking, I feel like there's 10 running backs I want to play.
I know. And I did see that Antonio Williams for Clemson is out. Didn't even travel. So Tyler Brown is in play there. It gives you a little bit of value there at 4,800.
Okay. Well, we still have about 5 minutes. Do you want to make a team together real quick? The team we made together last time was great, except not having Navers.
Yep, let's do it.
All right. Let's see here. You want me to start, or you want to start? Yeah, you start. You tell me the one guy we're forcing in.
Okay. Let's go. Let's go with my boy Lloyd then.
Lloyd. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna have to go with my boy Shipley.
Okay. Let's see here. Do we want to go with their big horse and KJ?
I mean, I think we have to
go him and Broden. Give us a little value.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be 35. Oh yeah, I like the way this is shaping out. All right, next play, Worthy.
Okay. Yeah, and the way this is kind of shaping up, I'm not sure if we can go up to Caleb or something. So I'm thinking we just go down to Altmaier and try to get another stud in here. I say we just run him naked and let him, just try to throw the ball around, maybe get a rushing touchdown or two.
No, I like that. 6,700.
I'm gonna go ahead and bump you and get a play here. I'm gonna go Gentry here in the flex, so I give you 6,700 for one play.
All right, Gentry 6,700. Let's see here. We've got. Oh, it's I don't know if I can. Oh no. Now you. All right.
I know it's kind of a tough range there.
It's gonna be Branch
Yeah, you
or
could go down because I do. You want to get as much pieces of USC as you could.
Armstrong.
I really don't think Branch is going to get a whole lot of ownership too, just because I don't. With USC receivers, I don't think any of them will be that owned.
I mean,
I couldn't really imagine any of them being over 10% owned.
if we had Tyreek sitting, available for the last wide receiver spot in the Nets matchup,
Lock him in.
would we click his name? Yeah, I like it. So I'm going to repeat the team real quick, and then we'll get off here, and then you guys can get to building your lineups. But quarterback KJ Jefferson, running back Marshawn Lloyd, Will Shipley. Wide receivers are Tyron Broden, Xavier Worthy, Zachariah Branch, and then at the flex we have Ashton Gentry, and then our QB2 is Outmeyer. No, I like that team. I think it's going to be
Yep.
different. I think it's got some. I mean, these plays just seem
Got some pop. It's got that juice.
yeah. But that's the type of teams you can probably build. Fading Caleb Williams and Ewers and these expensive quarterbacks.
Yep,
But
I agree.
that'll be everything from us. D, get us on out of here, and good luck, everybody.
Yeah, it's been fun. We'll see y'all again next week. Like I said, subscribe if you haven't already. Helps us out a lot. And come check us out if you're not already subscribed. A lot of good stuff in Discord. A lot of good stuff for NFL tomorrow. So just come join in on the fun if you aren't already.
Yes, sir. Peace, everybody.
Yep, peace.